So, that string of, archaeological, I don't even know if I should call it archaeological, but, the string of hypothetical videos, has ended, and I'm now, watching, a series on, um, Russian geopolitics, which is something that, is underreported here, in the West, um, but is really something that, anybody, really everybody, should have, a better understanding of. It might help people, understand, events in the world as they occur, a lot better. I stopped on this picture here. I'm gonna have you take a good look at that picture, because this is an excellent picture of Europe's geography. Now, if you study anything about European history, you'll understand the importance of that big, kind of grayish blue mass, the European plain. Um, you'll notice, for example, when I was talking about Iranians in Europe, geez, that is kind of, see, I'm not getting flickering here, so this is like, maybe it's, actually, I think it's just the light. Can I get, no, okay, so I can't get too close with this thing. How about that? Okay. Um, that's another thing to keep in mind regarding my old interference pattern. See, if I turn this thing off, it takes like 10 minutes to turn back on. Just how bad is it? I'll have to test that. But I mean, it comes in and out. So why would it come in and out? Anyways, what I'm talking about right now is the European plane. See, it didn't do this before, so I'm actually going to take a step back here again. It seems to be distance related. Okay. Okay, so you might notice. Actually, there's some interference here too. I have to wonder if it's even the YouTube video as well, but it's different from a distance. Okay, but you'll notice that if you start over there, around the Caspian Sea, where we think Iranians came from, all you've got is flat land moving all the way west to the coast of France. That's not how North Americans consider. It's not how we imagine the geography, right? We imagine Europe as this safe enclave, this isolated space, and Russia as this giant mass, this giant geopolitical mass that exists in between. And I mean, it's the Cold War world, but it's not just the Cold War world. It's an ethnic idea as well, right? So we split Europe right in half there like that. But if you look at it geographically, you can see that there's no reason to do that. And in fact, if you were to make a geographic split, it wouldn't be from east to west. It would be from north to south, right? Where all those mountains, where the Alps, and other, the Alps and the Carpathians and the other mountainous areas start jutting out. But we see this is south of Germany. Now, it's not a coincidence at all that the split between flat land and elevated land is very similar to the breakdown between the Romans and the barbarians, Germans, Celts, and Iranians, that occurred in the distant past. So when I talked about Iranians moving from from the Black Sea to France, we can see how easy that would be. Now, what this video actually suggests is that that area is indefensible for the Russians, and that's correct, because we see that if you're in Germany or you're in Bulgaria, all you have to do is start moving. Right? There's nothing. There's no natural defenses that can protect you. And it works the other way too, right? This is why it was so hard to protect the Roman Empire, because this huge mass of land, of flat land, made it so people could, trot basically all over the place. You could start up the top of the Caspian and be in Greece in no time, raise an army along the way. There's nothing that's going to stop you, and there's nothing that the Greeks can do except wait for them to get there. Right, and you can see that why it is that the Greeks put such an importance on trying to build fortifications up in that little enclave here to block them off there. And why the Romans tried to do the same thing up here and block them off there, right? And you can see why it is that when the Romans did fall, it was through going over the defenses in Belgium here. That was the spot that broke them, and that they kind of had a choice where they could either move behind the mountains here, or try to conquer the whole area, but that it didn't make sense to. Like, could the Romans have conquered Germany? Maybe. But then what have they accomplished? Right? They've just opened up a bigger front. Right? They would have had to take all of Russia. And hence is the problem in European history. The problem that everybody has had. We don't talk about it in those terms, but it was the problem that Charlemagne had in expanding east. It's the problem that Napoleon had, and it was the problem that Hitler had. It's that and it's the same problem that the Romans had for thousands of years. It's that once you can't defend that area, right? So you're best off just abandoning it. And if you want to try to hold any of it at all, you've got to hold all of it, and then look what you're doing. You're conquering Russia, right? So for the same reason that Russia is impossible to defend, like Russia can, you can see that it's impossible for Russia to defend itself. For the same reason, it's impossible to invade Russia. It's impossible to win. Because at any point in that huge gray-blue mass, someone could raise an army and just start marching. And I guess maybe at one point it'll be possible to conquer Russia, but you're going to need some cattle prod technology that is just beyond our comprehension at this point, right? So that's an important map. And from within that, you can see why. Well, first of all, you can see what happened in World War II, right? You can see where the Russians stopped. They stopped where the plains meet the mountains. So they had to stop. And you can see why they wanted to hold that region. Because they wanted to hold the plain. And you can see why the Americans are prioritizing controlling as much of it as they can. Because they know that if they can block, it's that pass off around near Poland. That's kind of the important part. And you can see that if you were Russia, you would be less concerned about Ukraine, and even less concerned about Syria, really. Unless you were just trying to distract, right? If you saw, all these bad guys, in the plane, and you said, shit, we want to get these guys out of here, so let's start a war in Syria instead. Um, I'm oversimplifying, and it's not fair to accuse the Russians of starting the war there, but um, you get the point. Let's let's take the fight away from here, away from the Great Blue areas, and somewhere else, right, where it's less dangerous, less existential. Because again, as you can see, a major push, and Russia would be cooked. And again, that's what Napoleon saw. That's what Hitler saw. It's the most important map you'll ever see, probably. And that's probably why you've never seen it. You can understand all of European history by looking at this map. It's amazing, eh? So, and this is actually it's a good series. I watched it a few months ago. I just wanted to skip ahead a little bit. I can't remember why exactly, but I didn't want to watch a full video. And so I skipped ahead to the first thing that was after my archaeological delve, and it was this. So I have seen this. And it explains the aspects of things that are happening. I'm going to come back to this in a part 2. But if you study this map, you'll see that it's like everything that you really truly need to know. But the conflict that's happening right now is you can extrapolate from this map. But what I was saying was that if you were Russia, you can see why you should be more concerned about Poland than Ukraine or Latvia, because it's Poland that is where you can cut people. You can cut NATO off if you had to. Poland on the one side, there, and the age-old struggle for Bulgaria on the other side. Because this is what has happened in the past, right? The only successful invasion going that way that I know of was the Goths. They started around here, and they settled around here. So it was a movement of people that way. But they were eventually repelled by the Huns. Well, burned to the ground, basically, who came from this way, right? And then launched all kinds of attacks on Europe over here. But even that is, well, actually no, sorry, it's a little. I'm thinking a little bit later. I'm thinking the Mongols. When the Mongols came in, they were stopped on the river going here. They were stopped in Poland, right? And in fact, that's another good example. The Mongols came in that way, and they very quickly took over that whole area. But they were stopped in Poland. And so they weren't able to get that way. Had they been able to break through Poland, they would have very quickly kept going all the way around there, right? And once you get around there, then you can start moving back up around the other way, and that entire area closes in. That's what nobody's been able to do, right? Because of the importance of the fortifications in this area. And you can see how important, number one, you can see how important Germany is, and number two, you can see why it's been the center of so many wars. It's right in the middle, right? So if, France and Russia are fighting, they're going to have that fight in Germany. And if Germany wants to go anywhere, if it moves one way, then it gets tied. It's you can see, like I say, you can understand all of European history by looking at this map. It's an amazing map. Best map I've ever seen. Most important map you'll ever see, which is again why you've never seen it. Let's get a good shot here of this map.
the map.